I'm Russ Boulton. I'm Head of Innovation and Data at Ayvens. Effectively, I'm the architect of TCO Plus originally, and I basically connect data and insights to present back to customers to make data-led decision making, fundamentally. And also looking at anything new, weird and wonderful that might be coming to the market and seeing how that can be a positive thing for our customers. I think one of the biggest challenges that fleets facing at the moment is that when we're looking at costs, it's not always about just an initial sticker price. And I think too often we end up looking at a traditional kind of rental analysis, but then potentially missing out the operational costs that are actually genuinely going to be quite a challenge. One of the big things that we've talked for quite a long time about is downtime, and that's fine from a maintenance downtime, and we've understood that for quite a while, and we've understood what the cost. But as we start to transition to electric, then we've actually got additional downtime, which is effectively operational or missed working hours during the day. Whilst this might not be days upon days of maintenance downtime, an hour here and there or 40 minutes here and there quite regularly can really start to add up. And obviously the more mileage you do, then the bigger that downtime can be as well. So I think where we're looking at it from a fleet point of view, fleets are not necessarily fully aware of what these new impacts are going to be, and we've never really had to calculate that in traditional combustion engines because it's never really been a factor, but it's really making a decision between one vehicle and another, because one vehicle might be able to charge at a faster speed than another vehicle as well, and that can have a real huge impact on actual operating costs as well. Obviously we've got the traditional downtime of maintenance. The market is under pressure a lot at the moment. IMI is citing a lot of shortages in terms of getting the right people to be in the dealerships and in the repair network, which does obviously have a knock-on effect for other vehicles that are going to be in those repair workshops, and that is creating extra downtime as well. So it's putting a lot of pressure on the network. Of course, the market is very, very focused on reducing CO2 emissions as well, especially for fleets with their ESG agendas or sustainability agendas. And what we're starting to see there is that there's a massive pressure for fleets to transition. And for commercial vehicles, that isn't necessarily clear cut. Electric cars is maybe a lot more of an incentive for fleet drivers to want to go down the electric route. For van drivers that are looking to transition to electric, it's a little bit more of a challenge. And there's a lot more moving parts that we really need to consider, especially the operational impact that can be downtime during the day as well. I think, kind of as I've maybe mentioned before, but I think they're not always looking at the total cost of operation. Traditionally, we've always looked at total cost of ownership, and that's fine, but it kind of there's a bit of an early stop point really, which is at the point where that vehicle is delivered into the customer. But total cost of operation is more about what are the costs associated with that vehicle after it's delivered and actually until it's disposed of as well. And then also looking back historically as to what costs have been associated with that vehicle. So we can actually potentially reduce costs for the replacement vehicle for that. So as an example, looking at how the vehicle's been driven, how many fines there might have been, what accident damage that we've seen there as well, to try and positively impact the total cost of ownership going forward as well, or total cost of operation. And I think, there's a lot of different moving parts in there, and I really hope that fleets can start to see that we're in a really strong position as Ayvens because we've got more data than anybody else, especially around maintenance. We've got more vehicles than most, and as a result, that does give us a huge data set that we're able to really start to drill down into to get the right insights and help fleets make really good decisions about their vehicle choice and the way that they're going to operate their vehicles in the future as well. And I think traditionally we've always seen that there's been a daily cost on average of about £600 a day of downtime. But when it comes to electric now, we're then breaking that down into an hourly downtime as well, because obviously we need to then break it down into a minute by minute and what the cost is of that vehicle being off the road and potentially charging as well, so we can allocate that and put an actual pounds value to the cost of that vehicle charging on the network as well. Well, I think Ayvens is looking at making sure that we're covering all those operational aspects. We've got a huge amount of tools for insight so that we can start making good vehicle choices right at the upfront point of view. So we're actually looking at the right vehicles in terms of looking at dealerships, looking at maintenance as well, and looking at what the average downtime is by brand, by model, and by individual derivative. Looking at powertrain as well, and looking at how that's actually going to impact a customer. Again, there's a lot of people that might traditionally go with one particular manufacturer, but if that particular manufacturer is struggling in terms of in a region where the dealership performance isn't particularly great, or the local support in that area means that there's increased downtime, then we've got to drill into what that cost is actually associated. So a vehicle might look relatively cheap from a rental point of view, but if the vehicle's going to be off the road for longer than another vehicle, then that we actually do calculate what that cost will be, and then we're building that in as a TCO plus kind of value in that as well. I think when you look at our mission critical, that's looking at very much the actual maintenance and making sure that we're managing the maintenance of those vehicles as best we can to make sure that those vehicles are proactively being pushed through the system and back onto the road, but also trying to work very much with the drivers, because effectively we're arranging the maintenance for it, but we're not physically driving it. So we're also looking at driver behaviours, so that we can have a positive effect on potentially getting the best out of that vehicle as well. I think one of the other factors as well is we've got our flex fleet as well, which is a really good way that when customers are looking to transition to electric, rather than committing to, say, a couple of hundred vehicles that might not potentially meet their operational model, we've got a flex offering that we're able to effectively allow customers to dip their toe in, try out the best technology or the technology they think is going to work, see how that works in operational environment, and then making sure then obviously once they get that positive feedback, then they can commit to a longer term lease or something like that. And obviously if it doesn't work, if it's not quite right, then we can go back to the drawing board and look at potentially a better vehicle, or try and understand what the challenges were and maybe how we counter that going forward. But there's a little bit more flexibility in that.